Hello, and welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, and I'm probably going to do this solo dolo tonight, and that is okay because we got a great show for you guys today. Welcome back to the Prime here on Prime Sports World, and here today we are previewing the Baltimore Ravens for the 2022 seasons. Now, we have a lot to go over here, and I'll go over it a little bit. I dropped a link to the podcast. If anybody wants to join on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, be free to join. And everybody who I sent the invite to, be free to join anytime of the show. It's okay. Just had to kick this off a little earlier. Waited a little bit. So, anyways, got a lot to take care of on the show. But before I do that, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Twitch, and our Facebook channel at Prime Sports World. You can find that on Facebook, and also go ahead and join our Facebook fan pages, NFL Supreme and the NBA Supreme Facebook groups as well. But we have a lot to go over here with the Baltimore Ravens, a team that was a little bit injury riddled last season. They were supposed to be one of the better teams last season, but just were just a little too injured. I mean, they had the injuries to the defensive backfield, which really hurt them. They had the injury to Lamar Jackson. He had those nagging injuries as well. So it was just a pretty down year for them. I believe Marcus Peters injured his knee. I believe was it Marlon Humphrey, if I'm not mistaken, injured his knee as well. So two of the best corners were gone or out for the season, if I'm not mistaken, for the Baltimore Ravens. So and then Lamar Jackson obviously had his injuries here and there, for the seasons as well. And pretty much I think they shut him down mid-season, if I'm not mistaken. That Marlon Humphrey injury I believe happened. When did that Marlon Humphrey injury happen? Happened in early December. I believe it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm not mistaken, in December. But anyways, needless to say, he had a pectoral tear. That's what Marlon Humphrey had. And then, like I said, Lamar Jackson, I think, had some hamstring injuries. But needless to say, this secondary should be a little healthier this season. I know Marcus Peters is still kind of coming back on the physically unable to perform list. They did draft Kyle Hamilton. We'll get to their draft in a second. Still got Kyle Fuller. They got him over from Denver. So this is gonna be a pretty stout secondary, if I'm not mistaken, this season. This probably be one of the best secondaries in the league. Next to a couple others. This is probably the best secondary, in my opinion, in the league. You got three guys that can shut everything down and basically can just go after it. And then I believe they were able to go ahead and sign Marcus Williams as one of the best safeties in the league. Younger safeties in the league. Signed a 5-year, $70 million deal. We'll get to the free agency in a bit as well. But going to their storylines, the first storyline: will Lamar Jackson's contract situation be here we go. Coming on to the show, we got Latrell Golden. How you doing, Latrell?
Tired, but I'm good.
Tired, but you're good. Okay. Well, cool. I got somebody on here, and I was perfectly fine doing it solo dolo. But going to the Baltimore Ravens, first storyline is: will Lamar Jackson contract situation be a distraction? In my opinion, I don't think it will be. He reported to training camp. The rookies are supposed to report to training camp. I believe it was last Friday or so. So he's already reported to training camp. Yeah, he reported to training camp. I don't think their training camp. Their first day when the veterans are supposed to report is supposed to be the 26th. So that's tomorrow. So so look out for Lamar Jackson, tomorrow. But he's definitely at training camp right now. So I don't think it'll be a distraction. He reported to mandatory minicamp, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he's there to get better. He's there to get better and improve in the season. I know he's on his last year of his deal. Next year he'll be an unrestricted free agent. He declined their extension last year. I believe it was upwards around 43 million or something a year, whatever the case is.
Right.
But needless to say, he's on a contract. He's looking for a big contract extension, and with Kyler Murray signing a 5-year, $230.5 million deal, upwards of possibly 240, 250. You know, do you think it'll be a distraction coming into next season?
Um, I don't think it will be. So most likely they'll work on something now what comes with the contract. I think that's the same situation that same way for the Green Bay Packers where they think Aaron Rodgers is a distraction in his contract and whatnot. So I think it's gonna be like that and it's gonna work itself out and it'd be good to go for Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and I think that when you got a team like this that that has multiple multiple injuries last season, to key defensive guys. You want your quarterback to stay in the game. I mean, and also Lamar Jackson was injury riddled last year. I believe he had like the hamstring injuries. He had a whole bunch of
Yeah,
different things
yeah.
going on with him.
He missed
Yeah, a whole
he
bunch of
missed a
things
lot
going
of
on
games,
with him.
including I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 years ago where he had to sit out and his backup quarterback played for the Baltimore Ravens against the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he was like, "Dang, if I was there in that game, I could maybe do something better, you know, productions wise." But yeah, he did miss quite a few games,
Yeah, and I mean
including the
last
Green Bay
year,
Packers
and
game.
last year, the secondary, Jimmy Smith was out, Marcus Peters was out first. I think he injured himself. I think the first day of training camp, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had Marlon Humphrey got injured in December with a season-ending injury, so they were thin. I mean, super thin at the DB spot. So that team, and it showed because they're the worst passing defense in the league last year. So they were the worst passing defense in the league last year, and it's
Oh,
crazy to
Dev.
say that because they started out as one of the better secondaries in the league. But needless to say, this secondary is still pretty good. We'll get to the health of their secondary. But yeah, I don't think it'll be too much of a distraction. I think he's already came out and said they're working on it. He reported to camp. I think that's a big one is that he reported to camp because if he didn't, then I'd be worried if I was a Ravens fan.
Oh, for sure. Definitely for
Yeah.
sure. I guess we'll find out this coming in the next few days of the mini camp.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to our next topic is who is going to catch these passes from Lamar Jackson outside of Mark Andrews. This wide receiver core and their weapons are really thin. I mean, even J.K. Dobbins. I'm sorry, is coming off of an ACL injury as well. He injured his ACL, I believe, in preseason or week one, if I'm not mistaken, real close to week one, I believe. And Gus Edwards was injured for the. I mean, Gus Edwards, it was just like everybody was injured. They was drinking some bad water down there in Baltimore. I mean, yeah, Marcus injuries. Yeah, Marlon Humphrey. Yeah, Marcus Peters. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, Gus Edwards. They all went down with significant injuries last season. So you're looking for J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards to probably come back, but then you got and those are running backs only. But at the wide receiver core, Rashad, you're asking a lot out of Rashad Bateman, who's a second year player out of Minnesota. He's a nice player, but you're asking him to be a number one wide receiver where Hollywood Brown was pretty much their number one, and he's in Arizona now, if I'm not mistaken. Then you got Devin Duvernay, who really hasn't really put it together since he's gotten in the league. And then we got James Proche, the second, who's a nice compliment, but I mean, he's nothing too nice. And then behind them, Jalen Moore, Tylan Wallace. I mean, they are thin. They are thin at the wide receiver
They're
core.
thin,
Um,
very thin.
I mean, they probably have a worse wide receiver core than the Packers right now.
Pretty much.
And I mean, and a lot of
At
people
that
want to
point.
say talk. Yeah. a lot of people want to talk smack about the Packers wide receiver core, but I look at some of these other wide receiver cores in the league that are like Tennessee. I look at the Ravens. I'm like, those wide receiver cores suck compared to what the Packers got, right? You know,
Yeah,
and this is
at
nowhere
least
near
the
bashing them.
Packers
I'm just
have a
saying,
better
man.
chance with their receiver core. Because, like, if you really look at the bright side of it, you got Sammy Watson, okay? Christian, was that, did I say Sammy Watson? Yeah. You got Christian Watson, Romeo Dubs. You got, Amari Rogers. You got, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. You got a lot of receivers. Like, that ain't too bad.
Ain't
That
too
ain't too
bad. I
bad.
mean,
That's a
compared to
lot.
these Ravens, I mean, when I look at the Ravens, I'm like, I mean, Devin Duvernay hasn't really been that guy. He's been like a special teams guy. And then when you look at the when you look at the tennis what's his name that I was just talking about, not Devin Duvernay, but we're looking at Rashad Bateman. He's the second year guy out of Minnesota. Now Rashad Bateman I think can get 1,000 yards or so, but I'm gonna my camera's gonna come off here in a second because I'm gonna go ahead and share this podcast on Facebook, so everybody go ahead and join. But yeah, no, I'm looking at this team and I'm like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see a lot of guys catching this football. They it might just be Lamar Jackson in that running game, and none. And this was a top 10 offense last year. Can you believe that?
Wow. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I
I
can't
cannot
believe it
believe
at
it.
all. I can't believe it at all. That's
That's
first of all, I
that's
can't believe it at all.
that's ridiculous. I don't understand that how they're a top 10 offense. That look
I don't know how
that
they
look
were top
like
offense last year, but I think those first 8 games they really killed it. But I mean, yeah, I can't believe it. I got to look at the stats and see how they were a top 10 offense last year in terms of yards per game.
they should be top
But yeah, no.
16.
Where do you see them? Where do you see them getting? Where do you see them getting? Where do you see them getting these? Other production outside of Mark Andrews. Where do you see that coming from?
Are we looking at offense or defense at this
Well, we
point?
looking at offense. We looking at offense.
Okay. I can't see them being top 10. I would say maybe about top 12, maybe top 13 in offense.
Top 13 in offense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that they're going to be a middle of the pack offense, in my opinion. I think they're not going to be they're not going to be that team on offense. I think hands down that team is going to be middle of the pack. They're gonna have to rely a lot on Mark Andrews, the play action pass. They're gonna hope that Mark Andrews actually can stay. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league, so you're gonna have to he's gonna have to shoulder a lot of that load, but a lot of that load is gonna have to come on Rashad Bateman. He's gonna face the team's number one corner this year on every opponent's team. Every opponent that they face gonna get the number one corner, and he's got to he's got to step his game up from year one to year two. And this is a guy. And then also when I bring up James Proche, he's a 6th-round draft pick last year, and he only had 16 receptions for 202 yards last year. So
Oh,
yeah, so
there, there's a
I don't really see them really doing any damage outside of Mark Andrews, and Rashad Bateman had only 46 receptions for 515 yards and a touchdown.
but see,
So
and
they're
there's a
gonna have
reason
to
why
be
I
something.
said there's a reason why I said they're gonna be a top 13 in offense because if you look at their division is full of talent. So there's a lot of monsters. I don't know if you watch the 90s the monsters when this is all scary. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Baltimore Ravens, they're gonna try and hang on, but it's gonna be a problem in the AFC division because
Now,
yikes.
don't get me wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, because you got Devin Duvernay. He's going into his 3rd season. Feels like he's been on the Ravens forever, but he hasn't even gone over 300 yards in one season for the Baltimore Ravens. So this is a little concerning. And he's one of their speedy guys. He's a special teams kind of guy. But I mean, when I look at this team, man, I got real concerns of where Lamar Jackson's gonna go. And honestly, if I'm the Ravens, I'm gonna give Lamar Jackson, just as much or even more money than what Kyler Murray. I mean, he's taking them to the playoffs more than Kyler Murray. He's so much more important. He's probably as important, but the offense clicks as he goes. And he hasn't really had a true number one wide receiver on that team since he's been there. He has a great tight end. He had a good collection of ragtag wide receivers and some okay running backs, but he hasn't had nearly kind of the talent that I think some of these other guys have had. So, in my opinion, I don't know
what's
who's
the
going to catch.
offensive line?
I don't know where I can see them getting any pass. Outside of Rashad Bateman and the wide receiver, they got some problems. They have problems. I mean, Devin Duvernay is not a guy I can trust. And coming on to the podcast is Mr. David Henderson, another local fan here, Green Bay Packers here. He was on our Green Bay Packers show last time, but he's another guy that's another staple here at Prime Sports World in the comments and comes on the podcast. So, David, we're talking about who's going to catch the ball outside of Mark Andrews for the Ravens.
Yeah, and that's the big question, because right now they have a really depleted receiving corps, and with them they rely too much on Lamar. When you rely too much on him, there's going to be issues. There's going to be major issues, because he ain't an Aaron Rodgers where he can get you out of trouble every once in a while. He's a decent running quarterback, excuse me, but at the same time, is he going to be able to get you out of trouble 70% of the time, 80% of the time? No. Eventually it's going to fall back on the defense, and the defense is going to struggle because they're not going to be able to carry the load. I mean, you can only do so much. So it's bad. It looks bad for them. Like I don't remember if they addressed it in the draft, because it's been such a long time
They have not
I mean,
addressed.
April.
They didn't address anything in the draft. They addressed their defense. I'll give them that. They addressed some things on defense, like they added Kyle Hamilton was going to be a day one starter. They addressed that, but they did not address. Any wide receiver, which they should have. They should have drafted a wide receiver to, and we were all there. Like, what are they doing? But
What was their draft?
I
What was
can
their
see Rashad Bateman outside of Mark Andrews doing any damage.
What was their draft? What was their draft pick this year? I completely forgot. They had a first round, right? A high first round.
Oh yeah, no, we'll get to the draft. We'll get to the draft in a second. But they got Tyler Lindebon.
Well, no, but you don't have to tell me the draft. But like, what was their pick? Well, like, what was their highest pick in the first round?
The highest pick was, I believe, it was godly. It had to be 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look real quick. I think it was. Hold on here. It had to be. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It was 14th overall, and they drafted back, if I'm not mistaken, They drafted back, if I'm not mistaken, and they got this guy, Kyle Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so without even just kind of addressing like who they drafted, I'll say this: the draft in itself, and the receiving core, and the amount of receivers that came out of the draft, I am really was shocked that they didn't address anybody, because okay, they struggled last year, and that was just Lamar Jackson getting beat up. Now um, you have him come in. He's got basically the depleted wide receiving core. He's did a winnable division, but the problem is they just don't have enough offense. To sustain. And
that division is going to be, because you got the Browns, you got the Steelers, you got the Ravens, and
the Raiders.
You got the Browns, and you said the what?
The Raiders.
No, the Raiders are in the West, the AFC West.
Oh yeah, but
no,
as far as AFC division wise.
Yep.
Oh, hey, no, we're talking about this is the NFC North, brother. They got the
Oh, my bad.
Bengals. So the I'm
I
sorry,
got caught
the
up on
name was
that.
misleading me, but they got the Bengals who went to the Super Bowl. So in my opinion, when I look at this division, I go, well, Cleveland's gonna have a down year offensively, but they got a great defense.
Yep.
Because
Correct.
Sean Watson's gonna sit out half the year, or maybe the whole year,
Yep.
and then Pittsburgh they got Mitch Trubisky starting, then they got a rookie in the wings waiting. And they don't. Their defense hasn't really been too shabby in
And
the
their
last
offense
few years.
is
J. Watt's
and
been
their
great.
offense is rebuilding too. Their offense is
So when
rebuilding
I look
too. So
at
you kind
when
of
I look at this, when I look at the AFC North, the team that's most balanced is the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that won the division, the
yep.
team that went to the Super Bowl, the team that won the AFC. They're the more balanced team, in my opinion. It's crazy to say that from 2 years ago they were one of the worst teams in the league, but now they're one of the best teams in the AFC, in my opinion. They're only going to get better, and I think Baltimore right now, to try and keep up with an offense like Cincinnati, you're going to have pass catchers like that because Cincinnati is just only getting better. Getting more balanced every year. So Baltimore's going to really have to rely on that great rushing defense. They had a good rushing defense first in the NFL last year. They're going to have to rely on their defense. They're getting a lot of heavy hitters back. I think defensively they'll be fine. I think they'll be a top 10 defense this year. But offensively, they're going to be one of the probably in the 20s, in the bottom half of the league offensively. I mean, maybe middle of the pack. Maybe if J.K. Dobbins can get us some, show that he's healthy. Gus Edwards show that he's healthy, and Lamar Jackson can show that he's healthy. Then the rushing offense should be just fine. It's the pass catchers that scare me. So that's my thing.
Me, I agree, and I'm kind of wondering. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the division. Uh,
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think right now, if they finish, if they finish like second in the division, it would be good. But it's a matter of how many wins do you need to get, a wild card, 9, 10 wins
yeah,
maybe. And it depends,
yeah.
and
No,
what
in the
and what the
AFC, you're gonna have to get 11 or more because that AFC West is gonna be brutal next year.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so
And you're gonna have
so
three teams in the AFC West, in my opinion, with over 10, 11 wins
so
next year.
figuring that out, it's going to be,
At least
I
three
mean,
or four teams.
they can compete in that division because I think Pittsburgh offensively they're not going to be as good. They're going to struggle. Cleveland's kind of a what if when you have like when it comes to like the quarterback situation because we don't know who's going to be even the quarterback. They're going to kind of be unbalanced, and I don't rely on Mitch. Cincinnati is going to be the top of the division. Cincinnati is going to
Yeah,
be
they
the
are.
best
They're
of the
gonna be
best
top
of
of the
the
division.
division. So
Yeah,
it's a
and they have. I
winnable.
mean, you got
It's a
Joe Burrow,
yeah,
Joe Mixon. I mean, you got Jamar Chase. You got
yeah.
T. Higgins. You got Tyler Boyd. I mean, they have a squad. They have a squad on offense, and then their line was much improved last year. The defense was much improved last year. They went to the Super Bowl, man. They were one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on to the next topic, and we touched on a little bit. Can the secondary stay healthy? I mentioned it already. You had when I look at their secondary, yeah, Marcus Peters. He's still on the physically unable to perform list, but he'll probably be back. He's definitely probably back. I think now. I think if I'm not mistaken, I had to look that up, but he'll be back for the season. Then you got Marlon Humphrey, who was injured last season. I believe God Lee. And then the other last year before, and then last year Jimmy Smith was out, but he's no longer on the Ravens right now. But yeah, no, the Ravens have had a myriad of injuries in the secondary, and so can this Ravens secondary stay healthy?
Ooh,
You know
I
what's
would
going to make
say
it really
I say
tough?
for me, I say it's 50-50 yes, but 50-50 no. Because as games go on, if your team can't stay healthy, it's gonna be hard to manage. And I'm really curious about their secondary to keep them also alive. So I think it's a 50-50.
For me, I think Izzy is going to be really tough because you know most of the time. I mean, you're around the same age as I am. You're a little younger than I am. We both are, but we've always known Baltimore being a primarily defensive team. With that being said, they've had somewhat of an offense to kind of help them in certain situations, like when they won the Super Bowl back way back in the day in the 2000s. They had something. They had some offense enough to help them. When they had Joe Flacco, they had enough offense to help them. They don't have that offense to kind of lean on to get 13, 14 points a game and, to kind of help them out, keep them off the field a good percentage of the time. Now you're relying on the defense now. It's going to be quick three and outs, three and outs, three and outs. And those guys are trying to stay healthy and coming back from injuries. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be very hard for that secondary, and it's going to be very hard for that overall defense because they're going to be out there way too much, and they're going to rely too much on them, and they're going to rely too much on Lamar Jackson, and it's going to. I don't like it. I mean, I think there's some teams in the division they can beat. I think Pittsburgh's beatable, but just because they're kind of in the same situation. But when they face those big teams, oh man, and you have to put up the offenses against the teams like Buffalo. Good luck. Your defense is gonna eventually bend and break. So I don't give them a lot. I don't have a lot of confidence that the Ravens are going to be able to stay healthy because they're just going to be utilized too much. It's not gonna. It's going to be a hard season for Raven fans. So I'm just telling you, just being biased, non-biased. We all Packer fans here. We don't have nothing against the Ravens. Even if I did have something against them, I'm just speaking right from what I know. You
Fans
can't.
suspected
Yep, you can't rely too much on one side of the ball and expect them to
because
stay healthy all year because it's going to be very tough to keep them
it's
out
a
70-80% of the time.
yeah, it's never a good thing to rely on the quarterback to do all the work. We've seen many quarterbacks done it before over the past couple of decades. Becomes we rely on that quarterback to get you to what's supposed to be, but it never pans out.
But this is
It's
going
the
to be
same
defense though as well.
situation. It's the same situation with Aaron Rodgers. It's the same situation where Robin Griffin III. They rely on too much in his offense ability and his presence.
But
Um,
Littell,
there are a
the,
couple
the,
players like
the,
that, getting relied on too much, and it puts a
they're rel-
lot of
Well,
stress on that player.
and they're going to rely on the defense, and that's the thing, Littell. It's not going to be on Lamar Jackson. It's going to be mostly the defense. The defense is going to, I think, I don't know if you agree, Izzy, but the defense is going to have to be relied on a lot this year to save them in games because I don't see an offense. They have enough offensive weapons besides their tight end. They got a great tight end, but they don't have receivers that are gonna, you know, gonna stretch the ball, stretch the field out and get you, a 20, 25 yard pass. You know, I don't see it. I don't see a
yeah.
guy on that roster.
So the Baltimore Ravens. Well, everybody really looked at why they might why would they go get another safety when you just signed Marcus Williams and you got Chuck Clark on the team, right? But you got their new defensive coordinator, who is Mike McDonald. This guy, he's going to bring a new defensive approach where he's pretty much going to have three safeties on the field. So you're going to have Marcus Williams, you're going to have Chuck Clark, and you're going to have Kyle Hamilton playing back there. And one of those guys is going to be playing near the line, kind of in that nickel position, but
I was
mostly
gonna
pretty
say
much
that.
blitzing most of the time. While they lock you up on the outside with Peters and Humphrey, you're gonna have your nickel corner, who's probably your nickel guy or rover, who's probably gonna be like Chuck. You're gonna have Kyle Fuller and Chuck Clark out there on the field. So probably you're gonna take one of those. You're gonna take one of those linebackers off, and you're gonna have three safeties on the field. That's the new kind of approach where you're kind of seeing the new NFL, right? Bigger, harder, guys at rover slot. That are kind of just moving everywhere. So that's the kind of deal for the Ravens. So when I look at their secondary, I think they can stay healthy. We saw Kyle Fuller kind of get in the doghouse last year on the Broncos, where after week 8 or week 9 or so, he pretty much was non-existent in that rotation. So he had a really down year going back to Denver. going to Denver from Chicago, had a hard transition. Now he signs and he comes back to the Ravens. We all know Kyle Fuller, right? Kyle Fuller's a guy that, he's a guy. He's a good nickel. I mean, he was never a number one in my opinion in Chicago. He was never a number one guy in Chicago. They forced him to try and be a number one guy. And I know the year he had 7 interceptions, but I think he's a guy. He's a guy that he's a good number 2, number 3 option in the defensive backfield. They definitely got 2 guys that are better than him in the secondary. But yeah, it does. Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. Can both of those guys stay healthy? That's my big issue, and hopefully they can. I'm gonna go. Knee injuries are really. They can lead to other injuries, especially torn ACLs because you're laboring on one leg more than the other. But I think with sports medicine and everything like that, I think those 2 guys will be fine. Hopefully they come back stronger than ever. And if they do, then the Ravens got something nasty growing up over there, especially in the defensive backfield. Moving over to their draft, we talked on it a little bit. They had 2 first-rounders. They moved back in the trade with Philly. So Philly moved up to 13 to take Jordan Davis, who was really linked to Philly. But they got their man in Kyle Hamilton because they want to utilize 3 safeties in the field at the same time in that new scheme. At number 1, the second first-round pick was Tyler Lindebon out of Iowa, but probably the best center in college football, most consistent center. And if you remember, the Ravens, and the Ravens fans could attest to this, the Ravens center position was one of their weak positions last year. They kept a revolving door. Multiple people started at that position. Now you finally got some stability at the center position for Lamar Jackson. So, it's probably why he reported when the rookies reported, right? Because he wants to get ahead in the game and get with his center. Tyler Lindebon, who's going to be probably, one of those all-pro type of talents for the next 10 years, right? And then in the second round, first pick in the second round, they got your guy, David Henderson, your guy, Mr. David Ajabo. And if he translate, they're going to have him sit out 1 year. If he translates to anything that he was in Michigan, they got a top 10 talent pass rusher from him. Then they got a nice pick, Travis Jones, big defensive tackle from UConn, adding some depth to that, defensive line. And then they got the big boy, Daniel Fullerley from Minnesota. That kid is massive. Absolutely massive. Yeah, if anybody knows Daniel Fullerley, that kid is
what's his measurement?
6'8". Huh?
I was gonna say, what's his measurements? What do they list him at? 6'8". What is it?
Daniel Fullerley, that kid, he would have been a top 20 pick. Okay, that kid, Daniel Fullerley, that kid was, how big is this kid? He's 6'4", 333 pounds.
Wow. So he's 6'4", and he equals like two or three wide receivers. It's a big boy.
Yeah, no.
The weight of two. It's the weight of 2 or 3 wide receivers.
My measurements, I'm sorry. That's not Daniel Fullerley. Daniel Fullerley he's 6'8", 384. I'm sorry.
Oh my God! So he's the weight of 4 wide receivers.
He's 6'8", 384. I was looking at the wrong measurements. I was looking at Travis Jones. That's what I was talking about. Travis Jones is massive. Travis Jones is massive. If Travis Jones would have went to a Power 5 school, he'd be a top 20 talent. That's why I said the Ravens, they got 4 guys in the first 3 rounds that are all first-round grades, in my opinion. But Travis Jones, he didn't go to a Power 5 school, but the kid was absolutely massive. He runs a 4.92, 6'4", 333 pounds. The kid's an absolute freak. But Daniel Fullerley, he's 6'8", 380 pounds. He was the heaviest player at any position in the NFL Combine by 15 pounds since 2006. That's how big this kid is.
I have a question there. So do you think he possibly ate the receivers before Baltimore could draft them? Because that guy's a big boy. You said 380? That is a big boy.
Yeah, that's a big boy. That's a big boy. And he's not, trust me, he ain't going to be no offensive tackle. Now, I'll tell you that. He ain't fast enough. He'll be a hell of a freaking offensive guard clearing up the middle for guys. Oh. And also, speaking back to Tyler Lindebon, he's super athletic. If you remember, I believe Tyler Lindebon used to play tight end or something like that in college, in high school or something like that. The kid is he's pretty athletic. But anyways, going back to Daniel Fullerley, he used to be Rashad Bateman's roommate, so there's some familiarity there with the team. But I mean, he's gonna be basically he's going to be he's going to be a guard starting out until he loses some weight. Because at 6'8", usually those are tackles. With big measurables like that, big arms, big tall guys, they're tackles. They're not guards, right? Your shorter guys are guards, guys that can pull, guys that are faster, quicker in the inside. They're guards. This guy, he's a developmental kind of tackle, in my opinion. He loses some weight, they move him over to tackle. And then they get the kid from Alabama, Jalen Davis, who's actually, one of the better, later round picks, I think, in my opinion. And you add some depth to the defensive backfield, Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey being, with that torn pectoral muscle last year. You add some depth to that defensive backfield. And then I love their pick from Iowa State, Charlie Collar, 6'6", has 23 career touchdown catches. He's a big target down in the red zone, and he's going to be a perfect complement to Mark Andrews, who's more of your prototypical kind of like can get in the middle of the field, can stretch it a little bit, and this guy Charlie Collar is a good blocker, and he can catch the dang ball in the red zone. Then they went out and got a punter in Jordan Stout. Then they got another tight end, Isaiah Likely. So them Ravens, man, they love them tight ends, right? They got Isaiah Likely, who's another athletic tight end. He pulled in 27 touchdowns in 4 seasons for Coastal Carolina. So they went and got 2 tight ends in this draft because I think Lamar Jackson, the way he plays, I mean, he looks for those tight ends a lot, right? In the past, he's looked for those tight ends a lot. And then when it got in the 4th round, they had a lot of 3rd and 4th rounders. They had Demarion Williams from the cornerback from Houston, adding more depth to that defensive backfield. And then when they got the running back Tyler Batty from Missouri, who he led the SEC in rushing with 16 over 1,600 yards last year. He's definitely going to be a change of pace back, but they definitely are going to need some depth at the running back position since J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both suffered knee injuries before the start of the season. So, what do you guys think about their NFL draft?
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
David.
Are we grading?
Yeah, we can grade it.
Okay, so probably not going to like my grade, but I'll tell you why I gave them a low C minus, and here's why. I like their first couple of picks. I understand they got offensive linemen to block or to protect Lamar Jackson. I like that. I like that they got tight ends to kind of fill in depth. But again, they still don't have solid receivers. And unless he's dumping down to his tight end all the time, every time, they just to me didn't get him enough weapons. If they would have added a receiver or two in the top half of the draft, I would have probably given them at least a B, because at least it shows that Lamar Jackson's not being relied on 95% of the time in the offense, and that's going to be a problem.
You got to look at it, right? In my opinion, when you after Kyle Hamilton, after pick 14, the wide receiver class kind of dwindles a little bit, right? I think the next wide receiver that was taken might have been the kid from Penn State. And then, I mean, maybe you're looking at Christian Watson. I don't know what they had on the draft board with him, but when I look at their draft, and I let Latrell go, I think they did well. But yeah, you're right, David. They should have addressed the wide receiver position. That is something that it's really gonna hurt them. It's really gonna hurt them. But when I look at everything else, I mean, Kyle Hamilton, he fits for what their scheme is going to be next year. Tyler Lindebon, they needed a center because they're tired of the revolving door of centers coming in. David Ajabo, if he ends up being a top 10 type of talent pass rusher,
I didn't speak on him yet.
Second round. That's a steal in the second round. Then the kid you got in the 3rd round, Travis Jones and the kid you got in the fourth round, Fullerley, is probably may not be a day one starter, but he's a hell of a talent. He's a big boy. I think he will compete for one of those guard positions that they have on the line. And then Travis Jones is going to add depth. He's a big, massive defensive tackle, just real athletic as well. So those first four picks, I think they're okay. But yeah, you could have added a wide receiver or so,
Yeah,
to that list.
I feel like I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna give them a C.
Yeah, because
Just C
because
because not only
yeah.
that they didn't draft wide receivers. It sounds like they didn't draft a offensive lineman very well.
Well,
In the draft.
they did draft the offensive line really well. That Tyler Lindebon is the best center in college football, and then down for Lele, he's going to be a guy that's going to probably start at the guard position, depending on how he looks at camp. So I
Right.
think they drafted an offensive line okay. I just think that they could have gotten a better wide receiver. Now, this is what I was talking about. After pick 14, when they moved back, they got Kyle Hamilton. You got to look at it. Jahan Dotson, you watch Big Ten football, David.
oh yeah.
He was great. He was good at the beginning of the season, like first half of the season. Then, Jahan Dotson's. I don't think he's the needle mover that you want, right?
No, no.
Not like Drake London, not like Jameson Williams will be, not like Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. He's none of those guys, right? So when I look at Jahan Dotson, I'm like, okay. Then Treylon Burks, you might be like, okay, Treylon Burks, big boy from Arkansas. He had nobody to throw him the football. I mean, as much as I love the Arkansas quarterback, godly, I call him baby Cam Newton. But yeah, the Arkansas quarterback, he's getting better as a passer, but he was nowhere near as some of the other good passes. And Treylon Burks had a good year, but like I said, I just don't look at Treylon Burks being another needle mover, for that team. And so now you're starting to look in the second round. They didn't have a second round pick till David Ajabo got picked, and then by then, some of those guys were off the board. Sky Moore was off the board. You had who was the other kid that was off the board that we got? Christian Watson was off the board. So at that point,
Was
you're
it
like,
George
well, we're gonna
Pickens?
go with
Was
the
it
best
George
player
Pickens?
available.
It was off the board.
Yeah, at that
Like,
point, they're like, we're gonna go with the best player available with David Ajabo, and then I think it just kind of transpired from there. I'm like, we're not gonna waste. We're gonna just get best players available instead of getting a need at wide receiver, which is why you see
but
that, in my
I
opinion.
get that. I get that. But the issue, like I said, I have is okay. They kind of do what Chicago does in our division, and this is not bashing Chicago just because I'm a Packer fan. This is just being realistic. They rely too much on building that defense and they ignore the offense. Uh, yes, those guys might not be needle movers right
Correct.
away, but they would be a heck of an upgrade on at wide receiver than what they have. Because what they have right now, it's not impressive. It's not going to make anybody go, ooh, who's that? I mean, at least with like for our team, we might not have guys that we have young guys on our team, but they still you can go, well, speed wise, okay, you might have to pay attention to that guy, or you might have to pay attention to a Lazard because he's a veteran and he's been on the team and he's kind of got some repertoire. He's got some chemistry with Rodgers. Who do they got? Who do they got with Lamar Jackson that's got that chemistry? Who do they got that's really going to be that wide receiver that you're going to really be impressed
Oh yeah,
by? No,
most
nobody.
definitely.
So if you don't have that guy, automatically they're going to focus in on their tight end, which is their best, probably the best tight end, and one of the best tight ends in the division, not the best tight end in the division, but one of
They
the best
best
tight ends
bet.
in the division. So it's like you're sitting there looking at that offense.
No,
I would have at
I
least
would say Mark Andrews is the best tight end in that division. He's the
so,
best tight end.
but even though you double him and then all of a sudden you're taking away what you just have to rely on containing Jackson because he'll run out of the pocket if he doesn't find anybody he can throw to. So I mean, that's an issue. And I mean, I
Which
like some
isn't
of the
that bad
later
of a
picks.
plan.
Like I like the Ajabo pick because I think Ajabo. I know you said being a Michigan guy, I'm gonna brag, but seriously, watching him, he did a lot for being that Aiden Hutchinson did a lot of the work on that defense. he was still putting up numbers. Usually it's okay, a person's being doubled or triple teamed. They're kind of getting a lot of the attention. So, the other guy is going to automatically get, you know, um, is going to automatically get the attention. But um, sorry about that. But anyways, uh, so with a Jabo was able to go out there and still produce, and
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I
and
totally
I think with a Jabo, I think if Jabo gets healthy and he's able to be out for a year in rehab and come back strong, he can be really effective. But beyond that, there's nobody that really pops out that I go, because I mean, Ojabo is the type of guy where you expect it. You expect like the Ravens to take a defensive player and go, okay, like a Charles Laws, okay, they build on linebacker. They're linebacker kind of like Penn State in the Big Ten. They throw these linebackers out and they get really good linebackers and really good defensive players, but they don't got that offensive pop. And if you rely too much on just defense to win your games, you have the Chicago Bear problem, which is now all of a sudden your offense can't compensate. Your defense has to compensate for what your offense can't do. So I mean,
but
again, we don't
You're
know. They
just
could
gonna
end up picking
be
up a
one
guy.
dimensional.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna give I'm
At
gonna
that
give
point, you're just gonna be one.
I'm gonna give their draft class. I'm gonna give them a solid B. I'm gonna give them a solid B only because they didn't address the wide receiver position. Actually, I'm gonna give it a B plus for what was left over at the wide receiver position. I wouldn't have drafted a wide receiver either. I would have went with my luck in free agency, or maybe I can get a cheap veteran. Maybe they can come off the bench, come off and do something. But they're gonna have to work with what they got. And so, if I was, Kyle Hamilton's probably gonna end up being one of the best. That was probably the best pick in the first round, in my opinion. He's a safe ass pick. Tyler Lindebom's even safer pick at center. Okay, and then David Ajabo was a top 10 pick that they got in the second round. Okay,
yep.
so I think
He
those
only
first
fell
three
because of
guys.
his leg.
Yeah, I think those first three guys in terms, and then when you look at them last year, they were 24th in the league in sacks with only 34. So adding a David Ajabo should help them out next season and beyond. Anyways, moving forward to the free agency roster shakeup, they added Marcus Williams, who signed that I believe it was a 5-year, $70 million deal. And then you got Kyle Fuller. He signed I believe it was like a 1 or 2 year deal, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went ahead and signed DeMarcus Morrison. They lost big departures, right? They lost Hollywood Brown. I believe that was in a trade to I don't know if he got traded or whatever, but I know he's on Arizona now. And then they lost Deshaun Elliott and then Jimmy Smith as well to free agency. So what do you guys think about their free agency roster shakeup? Also, other notable additions. Notable losses. They lost Sammy Watkins, who right big to the Packers. Trayvon Young to the Bears. Yeah, they did trade Marquise Brown to the Cardinals. I believe that was a draft day trade, if I'm not mistaken. And then they lost the backup quarterback Josh Johnson. Who cares about that? Eric Tomlinson is another tight end, backup tight end. Khalil Dorsey, who was one of the cornerbacks that played last year, gave him some depth. He's lost to the Giants. So yeah, they lost some guys. But those are the notable guys, right? Deshaun Elliott, Hollywood Brown, and Jimmy Smith as well. So and then their additions: Marcus Williams, one of the best free safeties in the league. Previously played in New Orleans. Kyle Fuller, if he could be anything that he was, with the Bears, that they're hoping he'll be a great nickel corner in the league.
Oh,
And then Morgan Moses as well is another notable addition that they got at right tackle from the Jets. So what do you guys think about the free agency class? What would you rate it, and what would you think about it?
Probably same thing. C, a solid C.
yeah.
Um,
For me,
Point.
yeah.
go ahead, Izzy.
Not too
Uh,
crazy,
no, go ahead.
but just size C.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a solid. I'm gonna give them. For what they lost, I mean, the only notable loss. I mean, Jimmy Smith. He got injured. He was injured last year, so I mean, you got to think they added a healthier corner in Kyle Fuller. I mean, we're talking about Jimmy Smith, though. I mean, he's still a free agent, but he Jimmy Smith was a big cornerback, real long, a guy that can get after it. But I think that adding Kyle Fuller, you had a younger piece. You had a younger piece to the mix. Jimmy Smith is what 34. Kyle Fuller's 30. So you had a guy that that's kind of near the end of his career to a guy that's in his prime of his career, right? And looking to get back to playing winning football, right? So I see that as an upgrade in my opinion. I think Kyle Fuller is an upgrade in my opinion in terms of age wise. I think he's an upgrade from Jimmy Smith, especially coming off that injury at 34 years old. I mean that's going to be that's going to be tough right there. For Jimmy Smith to come back from. So yeah, I would give it a solid. I'll give it a C plus. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a C plus because they didn't go and address the wide receiver need. They went and signed Marcus Williams to a big deal, which they probably should have focused on maybe getting a upgrade in the wide receiver pool with Hollywood Brown. But I get why they went and got drafted Kyle Hamilton and got Marcus Williams because they want to use 3 safeties on defense. Kyle Fuller, I think in my opinion, is an upgrade from Jimmy Smith, who just hasn't been healthy at all. His last 3 seasons, I mean, he's played a total of 28. He's played a total of 28 games out of a possible almost 40 plus. So he's played half his games in the last 3 years. He's a 34-year-old cornerback. So yeah, Jimmy Smith, Kyle Fuller is definitely a upgrade from Jimmy Smith. And then Marcus Moses is a guy that is probably gonna be able to start for the Ravens here as a guy that is gonna be at the right tackle position. I think he could be able to start for them. So or he is gonna probably start for them. So I'll give it a solid B minus. In my opinion,
I'll give
or
it
C,
about a C.
C plus, B minus. You know what? I'm gonna give it a C plus. I'll give it a C plus.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it about a C.
Okay.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to throw like shade at them because I mean they didn't to me lose a lot, like nothing like flashy. They added some pieces. Fuller, like you said, Williams was another one. They added some pieces that were semi good replacements for the guys that they already have, Fuller especially. But again, when you don't address the receiving core, you kind of go, okay, where are you going? You're not addressing it in the draft, so are you going to address it in free agency? Why didn't they go out and get a guy? There was a few guys that were out there, or were still out there that were available. So for that, it's like I give them a C. I don't think they did enough to help the offense, but they did add Fuller. They did add some guys, like you said, Izzy, that were kind of good, solid replacements for the guy they had. I mean, nobody that left was like, ooh, that was a huge loss. A
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, Abby. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and they got some guys that are still on the pup list. I mean, I think Ronnie Stanley will definitely be back from the left tackle position. Tyler Lindebon is going to be a day one starter at center. You gave Marcus Moses a $15 million deal to be a starter at the right tackle position. You drafted Daniel Fullerley. He's probably going to be at 6'8", he'll be probably the biggest guard in the league, in my opinion. I don't know if there's any bigger guards than him, in my opinion. At right guard, so he'll be probably in that mix. But he's definitely a backup, tackle. Probably third on the depth chart due to his size and his not being as fleet of foot as maybe some other guys. But yeah, I give it a C. I give it a C plus just because you got Marcus Williams, one of the best safeties in the league. Kyle Fuller, if he ends up being the old Kyle Fuller that he was in Chicago, you got a nice nickel corner there. And then Morgus Moses is a he's a starter. You know, he started a lot of games for Washington, and he started all last season for the Jets. So he's a guy that's a consistent starter, a guy that's really never injured. He's very solid. So I give it a C plus for that. But you didn't upgrade the wide receiver core, which kind of stinks. So that's my only thing. So, anyways, moving forward to the schedule. We got the New York Jets first week on the schedule. We go to the Ravens go to New York. Who do you guys got winning this?
I see them winning by only 6 games.
You see them winning only 6 games. Well, we're gonna go game by game. You tell me what 6 games that they only gonna win. Week one, I got them beating the Jets. Yeah, week one, I got them beating the Jets. They beat the Jets. I don't know if David agrees, but probably.
I agree. I agree just because I think, I'm just sitting there thinking about it. I don't think the Jets right now have enough offensively as well to kind of help them. I think overall the Jets are still kind of on that rebuilding up to be a better team in their division. I think defensively, at least the Ravens can actually like hold on to this game, and they're going to make obviously
Mhm.
Lamar is going to make enough plays to win. It's not going to be
Right.
they're not going to be thrown out 30-point games. I'm going to tell you this much, but they will end up winning like close games, like 16-3 or something. So I got the Ravens in this one.
Definitely. And then week two, they go to Miami. Who do you guys got winning?
Oh boy.
Oh no, they're
That's a
home for
tough.
Miami. They're at home for Miami. They're at home for Miami. They're not at Miami. They're home for Miami.
That's
I
a
got
toss
them
up.
losing this game. I'm gonna go quick fire because we got a rapid fire this. I got them losing to Miami in the second week. We got them losing at home to Miami. I think Miami's a bit more balanced on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. But I got them losing to Miami on road to week 3 going into
You know what?
Foxborough.
I agree. I'm sitting there, thinking about it. And it's like once Miami came up, the only thing that kind of
Can't
concerns me,
hear
and
you,
I'm going to make
David.
this. You can't hear
I
me?
I got them.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I was saying the only thing that concerns me is Tua, but other than
Not
that,
easy.
um,
Not easy.
other other than that, the quarterback situation, Miami overall is a better team. I think Miami will win. Go ahead, go ahead. We're making this quick. Go ahead, Latrell.
Okay. I got them winning. Miami winning 26-10. If
26 to
not
10,
more.
Miami. All
Yeah,
right. And then third week of the season, they go to Foxborough and play New England. How do you guys got this one shaking up?
that's a done deal.
Yeah,
They're probably gonna lose the second game. Um,
I actually got them winning in Foxborough. I
how?
actually got them. I actually got them winning in Foxborough. I don't know because I just don't believe in Mac Jones.
Matt, Matt,
I don't
Mac.
believe in Mac Jones. The out of and I was talking about this little trail earlier. You got all these teams. Everybody wants to rag on the Green Bay Packers wide receiver core, but you got all these teams that have shittier wide receiver cores than us, including the Patriots. You're probably gonna have a battle of the shittiest wide receiver cores in the league in this game. And who are you gonna
But
rely on? Probably Lamar Jackson outside the
hold on
pocket.
though. But I can make the argument, Izzy, that if you're really going to look at what's going to win them the game, it's going to be scheme. And who's the best at scheming in that game? It's going to be Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's going to have him ready for that game. Bill Belichick's going to go out there and have him ready because you know, like it or hate it, he unfortunately has had the luck of getting the Edelmans and being able to win. I mean, yes, you can say Brady was a big part of that, but he's been able to pick these receivers kind of that were really like we do, like we're big time, big name receivers. So I got the Patriots winning. I think the Patriots. Um, the Patriots win. They have a better overall scheme for Lamar Jackson, and I think Lamar just won't have enough offense to kind of help him win this game. You know, there just won't be enough. They're going to rely too much on him all season, and it's going to be a
I
big problem.
I got the Ravens winning this one. Then week 4 and week 5, they're at home against Buffalo and Cincinnati. Do you guys have them winning either one of those games? I do not. I'm gonna say
No,
yeah, I'm gonna say they beat Buffalo. They No, they lose both of these games.
what?
I got them.
Yeah, I
I
was
got.
going
I
to say
got them losing both of these games. I got them losing both of these games. I'm sorry. They lose to
you got
Cincinnati
him.
too. I think they might get swept by Cincinnati, in my opinion, this year.
I think so too because
Yeah.
Cincinnati is just an overall better team,
Better
and
team.
Buffalo is
Yeah.
an overall better team. What about you? You got them. Do you think they can beat Buffalo and Cincinnati? Throw? No.
I
Mm-mm.
don't think so.
I
Yeah.
don't. I don't think so. That's why I rub my face. Like, yeah, it
Latrell
ain't
only got them
happening.
winning, and Latrell only got them winning one game. They won in 4. And Latrell,
Pretty
boy,
much.
Latrell got them
What
winning
do
the
I
first 4
got?
of the season. That's it.
What
Yep.
Um,
do I got?
you got. I think you got them at 1-4 too.
Yeah.
They're going to be a bad
You
team.
got them
This
at
is
1-4 as
offensively.
well.
Yeah.
And then week 6 they go into New York and they actually get their third win of the season. For me, it's going to be your second win of the season because they aren't losing to the New York Giants. Okay, they're not losing to the New York Giants. They're beating the New York Giants. They beat the New York Giants, and that's week 6. Week 7 they come back home and play Cleveland, and we all know Deshaun Watson is not going to be there for Cleveland. He's probably going to be suspended either half the year or the whole year. I got them beating Cleveland as well at home. Who do you guys got? You got them beating Cleveland?
I got them beating Cleveland, but you know, their situation is just as bad. It's kind of a sad situation because Cleveland could be actually blowing the brakes off of them because they would be a little bit more complete team if
Mm-hmm.
they actually had the receiving core. But um, yeah, I got them. I got them.
Like I said, I got them beating Cleveland. I got them beating New York. And then their next.
This
What
this
about you,
put
Latrell?
mine's this just put mine's same. Just go ahead and let's push
Beating
on
the
that one.
beating New York and beating Cleveland. And then
Yeah.
and then so Latrell got them at 3-4 right now.
What do I got
And
them? Three
so and
five.
then their next 2 games, they're on the road against Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Do they win either one of those games against Tampa Bay and New Orleans?
They might be able to slip a game against New Orleans. I think the Saints. I'm not a big believer in the Saints quarterback situation, and I think that
Same. They're
although
gonna
the
uh,
Saints,
they're gonna win that.
although the Saints are probably the better overall team, I think the Ravens are going
I
to
I
win
got
here
them
and there.
losing. I got them losing both of those games. Um,
What do I
just
got
because
them at? Three and
both of
six.
those teams. I just think both of those teams are better than the Ravens, in my opinion. I think offensively, if Jameis Winston is healthy with New Orleans, I got them. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change my pick. I'm gonna say that they go into New Orleans and beat New Orleans, but they lose to Tampa Bay. So I got them at 5-4 so far going into the bye week.
What do
And
I got them
then
at?
yeah, right. And then coming out of their bye week, a week 10 bye, week 11 they stay home and they bring in they bring in the NFC South. They bring in Carolina into their house with Baker Mayfield and Carolina. Who do you guys got winning? Do
I
they win? No,
still think
I'm gonna just blend both of these games up. They go to Carolina. They play Carolina at home, and then they go to Jacksonville. Do they win both of those games?
um I'm not too much faith on Carolina because even though they got Baker Mayfield, I think the Baltimore Ravens is going to tackle on, and especially I don't know how the defense is going to look like. So I see Baltimore Ravens going to win this game. They're going to win.
I think Baltimore wins. They win against was it Jacksonville and they lose against Carolina.
Is it
Yeah.
Carolina? Yeah. Okay, so they lose to Carolina and they beat Jackson. They beat Jacksonville. Okay,
So
and
that's
then
what, 6 games.
yeah, no, yep, and that's week. That was week 11 and 12. Now week 13, they go back home from Jacksonville and they play Denver. You guys got them beating Denver there.
No, I think Denver. I think it's gonna be very hard to win a lot of these games. I think Russell Wilson goes off and actually
Yeah,
has a decent. I think Russell Wilson will have a decent season with Denver. It's
Denver
just
is
going to be
going to
the
murder.
division. It's going to be the division's going to be a little bit hard to kind of
the
handle.
AFC
They're in
West.
a
Yeah,
really tough
it's gonna be a little
division.
hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be their only downfall for Wilson for Russ, but I think they're going to be able to beat them. So
What about you,
I
Latrell?
mean, Denver will be able to beat them.
I think Denver is going to murder Baltimore Ravens pretty badly. I have a bad feeling it's going to be it's going to look like
At
a
home,
funeral.
at home, in Big Trust and M&T Bank Stadium. I don't know. I think it'll be a close game. This game can go either way, but I'm gonna have Denver pulling it out on the
Denver is
road
going to win
against
that matchup
Baltimore.
at that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Baltimore
Denver
Ravens going to get
pulling it
murdered.
out. Yeah, I'm gonna have Denver pulling it out on the road. If Baltimore is healthy, the secondary is healthy, I think they could beat Denver at home. And then the next two games are divisional games. They're on the road. They play Pittsburgh for the first game, the first matchup between them and Pittsburgh, and that's a week 14 matchup. And then they're on the road against Cleveland in a week 15 matchup in Cleveland. Who do you guys got winning?
Ooh,
Do you guys got them winning both of those games or not?
they're not beating Cleveland. I know that. They're not. I
They're not
still
beating
think they don't
Cleveland,
beat.
but I got them. I got them sweeping one team in that division, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I got them beating
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. I got them losing to Cleveland at Cleveland.
yeah. Pittsburgh's pretty bad on offense. I think, yeah, I agree. I think Pittsburgh's pretty bad on offense. Pittsburgh's quarterback situation is even worse. So
Mm,
give me a win against Pittsburgh, loss against Cleveland. I think Cleveland runs the ball on them. They just palm the ball and they destroy them on defense.
What about you, Latrell? I think well, okay, I'll elaborate a little bit on Cleveland. Pittsburgh, I don't care. I don't care who's their quarterback, they're losing. At this point, it might be the rookie, so it might be real ugly for Pittsburgh at this point. When it comes to Cleveland, Deshaun Watson might be back, depending on what his suspension is. If he's back, I got them definitely losing. I mean, but even if he's not back and they got a solid, I think at Cleveland with that defense, what Cleveland has, I think, and they play the Ravens pretty tough. I think they'll beat Baltimore Ravens at home at least. So
Well, yeah, and
I
Chubb, I
think it's
think
up for the grabs.
guys like that, they're gonna pound the ball all day. Even if they don't got a
yeah,
quarterback,
who do you got? Who do you
they're
got,
gonna have a
Latrell?
lot.
I think it's up for the grabs. I'm gonna say it's ooh. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility that ooh, you know what? I'm just gonna fall lead with you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, with me. If you follow me with me, they more than 6 games. They won more than
It's
6 games so far. Week 16 and 17, they're at home against Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Who do you got? Do you guys got them winning both of those games?
Yes, Atlanta's terrible, and
yeah,
Pittsburgh.
that's an
Terrible.
easy win. That's a W.
And
What I
Pittsburgh's
got?
coming into
7
town. I got them beating Pittsburgh too. I got them winning. I got them beating both of those teams at home
What
before
do
the
I got,
last
Izzy?
game
Now
in Cincinnati.
Seven
I got
Atlanta.
them lose by Pittsburgh because I have a feeling that Pittsburgh, you got Mike Timman, come with strategy that could definitely mishandle Baltimore Ravens defense
And
badly.
then and then who do you got? Who do you got, David? The week 16 and 17. You got them beating both of those teams?
Yeah,
Or
what'd you say? You
splitting
said
or
it was
what?
Pittsburgh and
You got
was
Atlanta
it?
and then Pittsburgh. 16
Yeah,
and 17.
they will beat them both because I think they'll sweep Pittsburgh and Atlanta right now.
It's
They're
not
bad.
good.
Atlanta's rebuilding. They
Marcus,
got rid of bad guys.
at this point, you'll probably have the rookie Desmond Ritter will probably be starting for Atlanta. I don't really, and then that's a road game for them. I
Right
don't
now,
have
Izzy,
any
John Ritter could start for
on
that team,
offense even throw. They got the kid. They got the tight end who's pretty good. Um,
He
the
is
kid,
he right now. Right now, Jason Ritter, John Ritter's
Desmond
son could
Ritter.
come out and try to go play quarterback for him and wouldn't help him. It's going to be bad for Atlanta. Atlanta right now is relying on Mariota, and Mariota, well, average. He's you know
Yeah, I mean, like
Atlanta doesn't look good.
the only people Des it's gonna be Marcus Mariota. He's gonna be probably not playing, depending on what they are. Desmond Ritter's probably gonna be starting. Have Drake London, Cordell Patterson's probably your number. He's probably him and David Williams are gonna be your main running backs. You're gonna have Brian Edwards, who's a solid wide receiver at for the Raiders last year, and then this kid is suspended for a year. Guy Riley, not Riley, Calvin Ridley, and then Kyle Pitts is your guy. I don't see Atlanta doing anything against them. Chalk that out as a loss. I got them losing that game, and then the end of the year. At the end of the year, they are on the road against Cincinnati with 10 wins. Could this possibly be a game for the division here between them and Cincinnati? Who wins this game?
Absolutely not. Cincinnati is going to smoke them.
Do you think
Cincinnati is
Cincinnati
going
is going to
to.
have more than 10 wins at this point, or no?
Oh yeah. Cincinnati, this division, you got Cincinnati could easily sweep Pittsburgh. They could easily sweep Baltimore because Baltimore right now offensively is bad. Pittsburgh's bad right now.
I don't think they
Cleveland,
sweep
I think
Cleveland, though. I mean, I don't
no.
think they
Cleveland
sweep
will
Cleveland.
split.
Yeah.
Cleveland no split because Cleveland, as bad as their quarterback situation might be, they still got a really really good running game and their defense is really good. So Cleveland no split, but still you got 5 wins right there. They'll probably be 5-1 in the division,
In the division,
and
yeah.
that's 5 wins right there. And we didn't even go through the schedule.
Through
So
their other schedule, yeah. We'll get there this
yeah,
week sometime,
yeah.
or next week
So
sometime.
they're going to be good. Cincinnati is going to be really good and really tough to
I
beat this
think,
year. So yeah, I think they should go
I
11
think
or
at this
12.
point,
Cincinnati should go 11-12 wins.
okay. So I think at this point, Cincinnati has they could sit their start. I think they have the division wrapped up at this point. They have a better
Yep.
record, a better conference record, division record than Baltimore, but I think they still are like on that press. I think they have 11, maybe 12 wins right now. So I think they're gonna have a home playoff game. It really depends. It really depends. I don't think Cincinnati may not have nothing to play for here. So I
Oh,
probably
I
I
don't
probably
know,
would say
Izzy.
that I probably would say Baltimore might split with them this season, but I'm gonna go with Baltimore losing this game because I think Cincinnati will something to play for, and that might be the number one or number two seed. It might be the number one seed, even though I don't think that they're gonna have as many wins as Buffalo, which is my ceiling, which is my low. I think Buffalo is gonna win 15 games, 15 or 14 games this year. I think Cincinnati will be at 12, 13 games. I don't know if this will be for the division. I've just been hearing a lot of chatter that will be a division
Izzy,
that will be basically
here's
a
what I think.
division championship game. But I don't. But Ravens fans are kind of delusional this year. So I don't know. So there a lot of Ravens fans are saying that last game is going to be for the division. I don't see it happening at all, Chad.
Izzy,
I
what
I
if
don't see it
what if
happening
it
at
ends up
all.
being
If
what
if
if it
okay,
what,
if even if Cincinnati's got 11 wins right here going into the last game, which I think they will. I think they'll have 11 wins. Baltimore have 10. If Baltimore beats Cincinnati and they're in a tie, it depends on who has the better record, and if they're both 5-1, I don't know where it goes to. So it might
I
be
got
for the
another
division.
scenario.
It might be. But I'm gonna go with Cincinnati winning this ball game. They sweep the Baltimore
Izzy,
Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens end the season in my book 10-7,
Izzy, I
and
got
that
another scenario
does
for
not
you. I
make the
got another
playoffs for
scenario
the
for you,
AFC,
Izzy.
ladies and gentlemen.
I got
I'm
another
sorry.
scenario. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
I got another scenario for you. What if it ends up being where scenario being Buffalo, let's just say they have 14 wins, they're going into the final game of the season. Let's just say Cincinnati gets 13. Cincinnati needs to win this game and hope Buffalo loses that final game of the season. Maybe they do have something to play for because that number one seed, they might be going, okay, maybe, we're tied. We have a better overall conference record. They could be playing for something. So Cincinnati
They
could
might
be,
be. I think
you
there's two
know,
scenarios. I think either one, if Cincinnati does really well and they got 14 wins at this season, and Buffalo maybe has 14 wins, then yeah, they got something to play for, number one seed, right? I don't think Cincinnati gets to that many wins, but we'll see. I
no.
think
But
this is
what
the
if
only
Buffalo
scenario.
has?
Cincinnati,
What
I think Buffalo. I think Buffalo's a 15, 16 win team this year. Uh, in my opinion, I think this is the more realistic scenario. Cincinnati's either got 11 or 12. If they got 12 wins, then they're just playing for playoff seeding at this point. I think they play, right? But
if,
they could, if they're not playing for anything, they might just rest their starters. But if they have 11 wins, Baltimore has 10 at this point, right? In my book, they have 10. They're playing for the division, in my opinion, because if whoever ties or whatever, it depends on the points or whatever the case is. So Baltimore, might be playing. If Cincinnati's not playing for the division, right? If they're not playing, they got the division locked up and they can't move up in seeding, then Cincinnati just rests all the starters. Baltimore wins. But then doing that, you might have to face Baltimore in a wild card game. And you don't want to face Lamar Jackson, right, in the playoffs, in my opinion. Even though, his track record isn't all that. But, anyways, like I
well,
said, there's multiple scenarios. But I think Cincinnati has something to play for. They win the game, and Baltimore is 10-7.
what if it's home
This
field
is,
advantage in the playoffs? I mean, that's
yeah.
another scenario.
And like I said, I got them at 10-7. Latrell has them around 6 or 8 wins. I don't know. David, what is your last straw for
I think
them?
I had about seven. I think 6 or 7 wins. So I have them almost
Six or
at
seven
about
wins for them.
7 and 10. So about
Yeah.
7 and 10.
He's got them at 7-10. Latrell and David have them at 7-10. I have them at 10-7 on the cusp of making the playoffs. I don't know if that's good enough to make the wild card this year in the AFC. I think 11 wins is what you have to give yourself a shot to make the wild card in the AFC. This has been the Baltimore Ravens. Go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, guys. Thank you for coming on. That is Latrell Golden, and that is David Henderson, baby. Y'all
Yeah.
Packer fans, showed up for the Baltimore Ravens season preview tomorrow. We will be back on around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to go over the Cleveland Browns 2022 season preview. So you guys don't want to miss that. Go ahead and
Busy.
like our NBA Supreme Facebook group, and our NFL Supreme Facebook group. And guys, here at the Prime, we do one thing and one thing only. And what is that, guys? We bring the
Bring
heat,
The
the
heat.
ladies and
heat.
gentlemen. Bringing the heat
Hey,
24/7.
Izzy.
So go ahead and remember this.
Izzy. Before we go, we're talking about Cleveland tomorrow. Bring those dog biscuits because we're talking about. If I jump on, bring those dog biscuits. We're talking about Cleveland. Bring the bone too, man.
Bring
Who,
the dog
who,
biscuits, and you Cleveland Brown fans, you guys hop on if you guys are looking to talk about your
yep.
team. I'll post a link to the podcast. And everybody, man, have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, man.
You
Have a
too.
nice one.
You
Deuces.
too.